Hi everyone, welcome to yet another season of the Infinite Multihued. Today our topic is trying to fix the pieces, a parent's journey into dyslexia discovery. We have with us a good friend of mine and a former classmate, Mr. David. He'll be introducing himself and then he'll talk about so many personal things. We've had a bit of a discussion prior to starting this episode, and it's been very sensational. I have personally learned, I have understood a few things, and well, here we are. This episode came as a result of the last episode we had. He saw it and he reached out to me, and I'm glad he reached out because I think somewhere in between, from the conversations we've had, we have both learned a lot of things. So, over to you, David. Kindly introduce yourself to us.
All right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on the time you're watching us. My name is David. Just like she said, we were together back then in Lincoln. That's where we know each other actually. So, I reached out because I find the last episode of her her show, I find it, intersecting with some of the experiences that I'm personally having. So I feel like why not I come and share this thing, I'll learn, you learn, everybody learn. So that's why I reached out. Yeah,
Thank you very much, David. So,
thank
like
you.
he rightly said, this is a session where everybody's going to be learning. I'm going to be learning. He's going to be learning, and you watching, you're going to be learning. Especially for parents who are not quite sure about, the next step to take. Are not quite sure about the situation on ground. Just the way David isn't quite sure, but he's in between saying, okay, this is it, this should be it, this is based on a lot of things that he has heard. And in the UK, the process of getting a diagnosis is it takes a while. It's a process.
Wow.
It's not a walk in the park, and that is where he is at this point, trying to. But then the fact that he now understands the situation a little better, it makes it easy for him to say, okay, this is the way, this is the way forward for now. This is what will help us. David is talking to us as an African parent. In Africa, there's the there's the stigmatization, let me say, where your child is not doing as good
Up
as
to
every other person in
expectation, you
class.
understand? Yeah,
Exactly. Academic excellence in Africa, we are both Nigerians. Academic excellence in Nigeria is priority. Parents brag with it.
yeah,
I remember growing up. Fortunately, it wasn't so in my home. My parents allowed us to do what we wanted to do. But we heard a lot of people, parents always say, my child is going to be a doctor, my child is going to be a lawyer, my child is going to be an engineer. In fact, if you were not these three things, then you're not doing well in school, regardless of whatever it is that you want to study or you plan on studying. It was just always, there's this bragging where somebody comes in to say, my child came first in class. And then you hear parents asking the children, does this person have two heads? Does this person have five heads? And things like that. But the good thing is, David and his family are in the UK. The good thing is sensitization is going on in Africa, and people are beginning to understand that neurological differences are not anybody's fault. It's not the fault of the parents, it's not the fault of the child. It's just the way, the child was born. It's just like when something is manufactured and it just doesn't function properly. It just happened like that. So we're going straight into the conversation now. First of all, we have a number of questions here, and I'm sure that we'll be able to, go through all of it. But David, over to you. I'm going to be asking the first question now.
I,
Before dyslexia was considered, what made you start thinking that, something was different about your child's learning?
yeah. Answering that your question, let me quickly take it from your last comment about the African mentality about school, right?
Yeah.
You know, grew up. where if you don't go to school or if you're not performing very well in the school, you start getting backlash from everybody, your parents,
Mhm.
your friends, that kind of thing. And then I could remember then it was so bad that if you just hear that somebody dropped out of school, oh boy, I'd be like, oh, this person has thrown his life away. That's what
Yeah.
caused it. It's that bad. And for me, that was, I mean, the realization point when I started seeing that, okay, um, my daughter wasn't, getting, um, uh, what wasn't performing as expected in the class. Well, not, she was still young then. I mean, I'm talking about back in when she was 2, 3, she started school at 3 years, yeah. So she's getting it. They were teaching her, but when it is time for me to teach her actually just to complement, what she's been taught in the
In
class,
school.
that was the problem. So I had this saying that, giving her, you explain this, and then you ask her to say it, she's forgotten almost instantly. I begin to feel like, what's really the problem? So I say, okay, maybe because of my approach. I try another approach to explain, but she doesn't, you know, get to understand. And I will not forget a time when she has um, memory verse in the church. And then, she was giving her mom spent the entire week teaching her just the two-line verse. It was very difficult. So it was that time I began to feel like, what is actually going on? Yes, I didn't know anything about this. Like that. I just feel like, yes, there's something,
There's something not right
right? There's
about.
something going on at that time. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing that very personal information.
Mm.
Okay, the next question. Which difficulties were most noticeable? Was it reading, spelling, writing, remembering instructions? Which was the first one you picked to say, this is it?
Instruction for me was the one I noticed quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, instructions. When you give instructions, and you expect, of course, when she's young, you're giving instruction based on her age, right?
Age, yeah.
When you give the instruction and you are like, oh, I've given the instruction, she should be all right with that. And then you are expecting some kind of result based on the instruction. You're not getting it. You understand what I mean? You feel like, what is it that I wasn't audible enough? Then you try to, as an African parent, you shout again. I said this, and sometimes you hit the table. Trying to pass the instruction more, vehemently, and and it's still the same. I started feeling like, okay, is it that you have problem with instruction? Is it that you play too much? Is it that so many things started coming to my mind? I couldn't figure it out what the problem is. But for me, I think it was that instruction part of it that I first noticed.
I think most parents get to notice instruction first, and I remember one session I had joined in. I had to like coach some parents and children, and we're talking about neurodiversity and neurological differences in all rounds, dyslexia, ADHD, and all of that. And a mother said, passed a comment. She said, "Look, my son does not remember anything. I could send him go to my room and bring my handbag." And he goes to the room and he comes back and he's like, "What did you say I should go and get?" And I like, "I said my handbag." And then he probably goes and comes back with maybe a phone or something. Or maybe when you say the handbag on the bed, he goes and comes back with a handbag, but it's the one that he had brought from the wardrobe or something like that. And for her, she was like, "Look, when he was little, he could do this, he could do that, he could do this. And then growing up, I've beat him, I've changed his school, I've stopped him from going out to beat, but it's still the same thing. He will spend hours reading. At the end of the day, when you ask him questions, he's not able to understand. He's just too playful, or maybe it's a spiritual thing because I'm no more with the father. Maybe it's the father's new wife that is doing." And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
"No." I said, "No,
dude.
nobody is doing anything to your child."
It's really a difficult thing, honestly, because when you talk about the instruction going to get something from the room, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
it just reminded me that the word, I mean the dyslexia as it is, I think it has it has levels. If I mean, I'm not a specialist, I'm not an expert in that, but for me, I think it has levels. Some kids do well with, with some with some
Aspects.
instructions. They might
Mm-hmm.
not do 100% well. Some
Mm-hmm.
don't take instructions. So me, when I started, sending, sometimes I send my daughter and say, all right, get this from the roof. And then, she comes back with other thing. Yeah, it gets to that level. You tell her, go and get the remote or maybe something, and then she goes there, and then she fetched another thing. When she bring that in, I'm like, okay, is it that you're playing too much? Because at that time, honestly, the only thing I could think about is that you have to be playing too much
For
and
you to
have
not
your mind
understand.
in play for you not to understand a simple go and get this, and then you're coming with this. What's wrong with you? It wasn't a very, it was not a palatable time, that realization moment, because especially with the fact that you don't even know what that word dyslexia
Is
is.
yeah.
You don't have an idea of what it is. Because you're like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? So there, and those kind of things. So it's difficult.
Uh, so I think, well,
The
not
problem,
understanding that or not catching it with reading and spelling when they are younger is because they're still so young, and you don't expect a child to read perfectly at that age. You're teaching someone how to write the alphabet ABC. I still remember clearly when I used to write my P as nine, or at least I remember one incident when I wrote my P as nine, and my dad said, "Does this look like P to you?" Surprisingly, I still remember that clearly. And after then, I never ever, never ever. So it's normal that you see, okay, people, children write P as nine, write D as B, write C the other way round. We get to see all of these things. But, when you start growing up and it now becomes, all of those things, that's where you may not even notice until maybe the child is about maybe 7, 8, where you now expect that they should be writing properly. But for the instructions, you're already giving instructions from a very
That was
tender
what I wanted.
age.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I wanted to speak a little more, but I love your submission about that, reading. Its instruction will stand
Coming,
out.
and that is usually where you just
Because
just
yeah,
say, okay.
reading, even reading would not be a permanent symptom to them, because at some point they are going to be grown. The confusion between P and the other one, the confusion between P and this, the reading fluency and everything
Yeah.
is going to improve with time. Do you understand? So
Mm-hmm.
that cannot be, but the instruction is what matters, because at every aspect of their life, they are going to be given instructions. The
Mm-hmm.
instruction to write exam. It is instruction that, instruction is very important. And if you cannot interpret instructions properly,
It
then
just
you have,
becomes an issue. If you
yeah,
cannot
that's
interpret, you're
for
not
me. It wasn't
getting.
because, of course, yeah, the reading is there. She doesn't catch up, but even talking about reading, you understand that different kids have this different levels of
Yeah.
this speed,
Mm-hmm.
and
They go at different pace.
yeah,
So.
yeah, reading is there, but it wasn't a major thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Reading, writing, yes, I'm trying to teach her how to read, how to write properly at the stage we are now. We are getting her to know, and the good thing is that I must not, miss out this one. She's responding very well,
Oh,
which is a plus for me. Yeah.
that's good to hear. Well done, Daddy. So our next question is, did you initially believe that the difficulty was caused by lack of concentration, motivation, or practice? I know you've talked about
What
concentration.
do you expect? What do you expect? What do you
Especially
expect?
as an
Come on.
African parent. I'm talking to you, you're not
That's not what I'm
listening.
talking about. You believe you believe that me personally, let me share my personal experience, right? I believe that it was too much of play. Now, talking about play, and then earlier on before the session, I told you about my suspicion about ADHD mixed with dyslexia.
Dyslexia.
Of course, I first got to know the word ADHD before before dyslexia, right? So now, and one of the things that made me think that she's probably having an ADHD because of the play. We spoke about play now, right?
Mhm.
She's excessively active, excessively in capital letters.
Okay.
So very active, extremely active. So now, so the activity, the hyper activity was one of the things I noticed. Do you understand? And then I started feeling, okay, come on, what's going on? You're so active, just, have a moment to rest. I could remember very well. There was a time I and the mom coined out a word and we started using it. She asked me what the word is.
What was it?
Then we said it is sitting lesson.
What?
Sitting,
Sitting
sitting lesson.
lesson.
Yeah,
So
that
you're
was
teaching
it.
her how to sit still. Did it ever work?
Well, we tried our best. We could only try, I mean, you understand. But, it wasn't about it working or not at that stage.
Yeah.
It was just that you have to do something
At that
because it was
point in time,
out
you were
of hand.
desperate for a solution.
You understand? Because
Mm-hmm.
you, 1 minute, the other minute, every time active. I'm worried about her as a parent. Like, we need to rest. And then when she's growing up, I mean, she's still growing anyway. Growing up, she was not adding, there is a level of weight you want your daughter, your kids to attend. She wasn't
Yeah.
that that way. I'm like, okay, maybe because you probably play too much. So we brought her that way. So playing, when I got to hear the word ADHD, I announced that okay, ADHD has something about excessive playing. You understand? You are
Mm-hmm.
not there, and I started feeling like okay, maybe she's ADHD. So playing was the reason or was what I blamed for her
For
not
her inability
that I
to.
do play too much. And up to now, sincerely, I still believe that she plays too much.
She's a child. Allow her burn her energy.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question I'm going to ask you, are there areas your child appears capable despite struggling in school? Like what are
Yeah.
her super strengths?
Yeah. For me, I give it to my daughter. It's so life is about you have your own yardstick that you measure success with. I have
Mm.
mine.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, success is not even measured in all of those things that we believe. Yeah. So if I would applaud my daughter for one of her strengths would be, of course, she's a peace lover. Honestly, she bond very well with people. Do you understand? She have
Emotionally intelligent.
that emotional intelligence. I give it to her. I was speaking to you earlier on. The way she do to her younger sister, she's just 4 years older than her, right? But the way she relates with her, you think she's the one that gave birth to her. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
She keep her, that's I don't know what word I would use for that now, but she's just that homely here. Homely,
Yeah.
she understands the home routine, she understands the African motherhood at such a young age. She
Mm.
understands that okay, this my sister, it's my responsibility to look after her, which I mean for me, it's more than enough. Because when you have them young and they are growing up, this the struggle of brothers and sisters, the way they fight was it, and then coming, it's even acceptable in Nigeria where we come from, but here
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you want them to stay quiet, and that's the time they have conflict and they are exhibiting. You understand?
Yeah.
So yeah, for me that stood out. And then one other thing I would still say is that she has this willingness to learn.
Okay.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's why sometimes, it's easy for me to give up. A lot of
Yeah.
parents have given up on their kid. Oh, you know what? I don't want to fall. When you see somebody that's really willing to learn, you understand, you
Mm.
wouldn't want to give up easily on them. So she has that willingness. And she's always saying that one day she's going to make us proud. And I believe her. Yeah.
That's
So
so sweet. I think
yeah.
one thing talking to our last guest and talking to a few other people, dyslexic people, I think one of the things that they probably have in common are the homely attitude,
I love
very
that. Wow.
emotionally intelligent, and then
Wow.
also the willingness to do better than
Mm.
where they are now. So I think there's that consciousness within them to say, I can do better. And I think if they are in the right environment with the right technologies, there are a lot of technologies right now that help with, people who are dyslexic.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
agree
with
with
the
you.
right technology and, in the right environments, obviously will strive,
Mm.
especially since the willingness is there. They
Uh,
definitely will strive.
yeah, I believe so. And then, coming here, whereby even teaching is made easy. There's a lot of
Yeah, resources are
illustrations
available.
that they can use to, describe what they are teaching. So that would, help. Unlike where we're
Mm-hmm.
coming from, whereby teaching is just the word of mouth and word of mouth
Yeah,
alone. You don't get any of that in apart from what your teacher has said. They don't show you visually. You understand what I mean? So, yeah, it will help her, I believe. Yeah.
yeah. As an African parent, knowing that academic excellence is key in all African homes, how have you been able to deal with the realization that dyslexia doesn't go away?
Yeah, from I'm a bit different in personality, I would say, because for me, I remember there was a time her mom was frustrated teaching her something when I think she was 3 then. And it was the annoyance was she was very, very frustrated. She was showing because she was very angry with her. And then I said something. I said, look, it's not important, it's not compulsory that she has to go to school. Do you
Mhm.
understand? Because I mean, look around you. I'm talking about where we came from. Look around you. What does the school even stand for in the first instance? You understand? So why do you want to, hurt yourself, hurt your daughter because, she's not catching up academically? Don't stress
Mhm.
it. So for me, I believe that there are better ways to prove yourself as an individual
As in, yeah,
and having to say school. So with me finding out oh she's dyslexic does not really I'm not scared about her education. I know that education
she's
really is not the
going to do
key.
well
Not
for
like it's
herself.
not like the biggest. You work on yourself. Right,
Hmm.
that you can do. Education would help you find, but that's our mentality from where we came from is that you just have to get
You
to
just
do
have to go to school and keep
that does not
passing, and
define that does
like you
not
said,
define success. Yeah.
yeah,
So
like you
getting
said,
the
without.
income, getting this, getting that does not really define it. So we need
Hmm.
to wake up to this and start, giving ourselves less of a pressure. Yeah.
If you know it book wise theoretically and there's no practical experience, it just doesn't work. And the good thing is, because you're in the Western world, it's
Yeah.
there's the option of being homeschooled.
Yeah.
So, like you said, your daughter doesn't necessarily have to go to school to get an education. She could get her education from home. And if
Yeah.
that's going to be easier to teach her
Yeah.
at home, where she's the only student or she's the only pupil, and then
And
you're talking to her
you
one
can
on
work
one.
in a pace. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Teach her in her pace. It's good because if she had to be in school back home in Nigeria, there's the tendency where she would have to retake a class over and over again.
Yeah.
And retaking a class does not necessarily mean that she's even going to do better next year.
I was considering that, do need to be fair. I was considering, there was a time I was so frustrated. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't because, yes, when talking about, yes, I've said to myself, like, okay, academically, education is not really, but when you now bring it down to, I don't want to say stigmatization, but, let me explain what I mean. When you bring it down to the level of that, okay, you're going to the school to pick your daughter, everybody is seeing you that, oh, you are the father of
Yeah, the
that
parent of.
it still looks like you are so I'm like and then the teacher, not everybody per se, the teacher is looking like the teacher where I have problem with that. I started thinking that teachers will probably be thinking that maybe we are not engaging her enough at home.
At
That's why,
home.
that's I started feeling like you just have to know this thing, just have to know this thing. That was where I started having problem here, really. And then I was considering should I, because so that stress will be, I would be ease off some of the stress. Should I just let her go back to her previous class and then, I mean,
Trust
I'm
me,
not going to
should have gone back, and it wouldn't have made any difference because,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know.
or it wouldn't have made much difference.
I don't know honestly, but
The-
for so far so good. I'm not regretting anything really. I think, and if you ask me, that was before I started seeing dyslexia, right? I started
Mhm.
suspect. She hasn't been diagnosed, fine, but I started suspecting.
That there
So
was
got
something.
to see, yeah. when I got to see that, okay, there was really something special about, I started feeling like, okay, you know what, she can actually go in her pace, bond with her mate.
Exactly.
And, I could give that extra support at home so that, she might not necessarily be, within, but she'll still be going and she'll be understanding it. And sincerely speaking, I have been doing fantastically well in that aspect of it. Yeah.
The truth is that the educational system is not made to be inclusive for neurodivergence. And that is why most of them
That's all.
struggle. That is why most of them struggle in class. I'll just use this opportunity to chip in what we do at Amadia Academy Limited. We're creating an inclusive learning management system. Oh, we're done. We're complete. We're just inputting courses into it where people can come in and learn regardless of their neurological differences. Although this is for the advanced age, but for something we want to do in 2027 is to make it inclusive for children, where children who have all forms of neurological differences, whether neurotypical or neurodivergent, can come online and learn the simple basic things at their own pace in the ways that they would understand it. So, for example, someone who is dyslexic and would rather see things as colored could come in and learn how to spell words, and they're learning how to spell words not in the regular black and white, or you could probably just draw a ball and then make the colors of the balls the spelling in the same color that you're making the balls, just something to help them remember what they have learned, teach them things in their own ways. Somebody who is ADHD can come in and, make sure, and the course is engaging enough to get the person stimulated enough to sit down and, learn and without getting bored and want to continue learning. So that is what we are trying to do at Amadia, or that is what we have done so far at Amadia Academy Limited. Like I said, learning management system is complete. We're just putting in courses, and once it's ready to be launched, to let the public know this is where we are. Hopefully, the world will get to understand that inclusive learning is necessary. Inclusive learning is necessary. The standards for which we have made classrooms is not fair to everybody. And like I asked in the last session, who sets the standards and why do we think that these are the standards? Why do we think, like back in Nigeria, where you have positions in class, somebody has to come first, somebody has to come last in class? Why do we have all of this? And how is it helping? It just brings up competition and strife. And like I said, it's just because, academic excellence is priority. Somebody will tell you I cannot be paying school fees for you to go and mess up in class. I remember a time it was actually on a newspaper where somebody who had been there were 18 students in class. The guy had always been coming 18 in class, so like the last position. And then when he came the 17th position, his parents closed down the streets to throw a party for him. This is somebody that, so you can imagine how much they had struggled, and he probably, whether he passed the other person by 1 mark or by half a mark, the most important thing is you see this position that you have been coming right from time, you did better than someone, and they were happy to throw a party for them. But there are schools where they don't even do examinations. I know
Mm,
Finland has the best educational system and they do
mm,
not do examinations in class. I think I heard Japan, they do not do examinations. They just teach you at your pace, at your standard, and move you to the next level. They have naps in class. They start training them at a young age. They pick up where your specialty is, and they're able to put you in classes. Not the one where you have everybody in class, and it's either you're in science class or you're in commercial class or you're in art class. I remember while I was in secondary school, as high school, those who were in art class were considered as those who were dull. And I'm wondering,
Hardly.
why should I want to be
Yes, sir.
an
You mean?
actor? And you think it's because I'm not intelligent. And then those who were in the science classes, those who were in the science classes were, I was in the
Sometimes.
commercial class. So somewhere in between, they looked at us as, okay, these ones are the ones at the middle. So because I wanted to boost my morale about being in the commercial class, I'm not a maths person. I can do the basics, the plus, addition, subtraction. If you ask me those ones, I do not need to calculate. It just comes up. But you see, when formulas come in, where you start having to do pie chart and all of that one, counts me out. It just never worked for me. It just never worked. Like I said, the basics, plus, minus, divide,
Yeah,
off my head, it goes like that. But
yeah.
formulas, no way. I don't know if it's
Because
because I didn't have a good teacher. My dad is very, very good at maths, and so he tried teaching me, but bro, no way. Just leave those ones in. It just doesn't work for me. And you can imagine me with that understanding that I wasn't good at maths because
yeah,
I wanted to feel like,
among.
yeah, I'm at the middle because I'm in commercial class, but then I joined, I went to join the further maths class. I'm, my maths is zero, and I'm going to do further maths. And so the first time we had a test, I think I had 3/10, and I was feeling cool with myself. Oh well, I scored three.
You
And
should
then we
try
got
it.
into the exam. We got into the example, and I looked at the
Yeah.
questions. And like you said, instructions. I didn't even know. I didn't even understand. Trust me, I attended classes. I attended all of the further maths classes. I know they were teaching, but I was thinking I'll be able to cram the formulas. I got into the exam well. I couldn't even understand the questions to apply what I had crammed. So I just stood up from the class and walked away. And that was the end of further maths for me. So you see, you see that we just want to push ourselves to make sure
Really,
that
it really,
you
it
know
really dealt with personally me because very recently I started visit what I would say visiting my roots and then visiting my family like okay, you know what? Because yeah, I feel like okay, what should I have done better?
better.
And I started looking who asked me to go to science class. Because then if you ask me, I wanted to be a doctor. Yeah, so I know you have to be in science class to and then but the doctor of 18, where did I get the passion from? I couldn't answer the question. Now, but when I drilled myself, I now realized that it was, in fact, now you saying it now, that's why I was laughing. Because I thought it was only me that feel like science is the most brilliant among everybody. You know, when you go to
That was just the way they looked at
commercial, oh,
it.
what are you doing there? Come on. And then you go to art. Wow, you are finished.
And trust me, those science students had a way of looking down on every other person. And like I said, unfortunately, it was just the way it was. Like I said, I looked down on people who were at class. You know, you're doing literature, you're reading
For you,
literature, you're reading.
but you should have aimed for a higher position. You should have gone to science just like I did.
I'm telling you, it was just but and it's still these are the
Yeah, I think.
unspoken stigmatizations and
And
unspoken standards, unrealistic
yeah,
standards that are
yeah.
being placed. I mean, look at the world today. There are people who are acting, and these people are doing extremely well. They're actors and actresses, they're musicians. These people were either commercial students or, and then we even
No,
have people who had read the
you have gone too far.
sciences.
You have gone too far talking about the musicians, talking about the actors. How about people that didn't cross any, they didn't even have any formal education and they are creating content on social media.
Exactly,
They are relevant.
they're
At the
doing
end of
so
the
well.
day, do me. At the end of the day, whether you are the doctor, whether you are this or that, at the end of the day, are you able to pay your bills? You understand? That's what matters. I don't want to sound like that, but sincerely speaking, whether
Yeah, yeah, but that's the truth.
that's
When
what
you become
matters,
an
right?
adult, you realize
Whether you're
that you
doing,
have to pay bills.
yeah, some of
And
these
then
people,
what impact are you bringing to the society? Are you
definitely, yeah,
just,
exactly. If you have money, then do be. If you have money, do me. If you have money, you will definitely impact the
the
society.
society?
People definitely look up to you. Do you understand? You definitely help people because at the end of the day, what we celebrate back home is the end and not the means.
And true, true.
I don't want to.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
true. Sadly, that's the truth. Okay, let's move on. Let me ask you the next question. I know you've talked about this briefly, but if you could elaborate on it, do you think that being in the UK gives your child a fair opportunity in academics?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And not yeah, 100% in terms of academics, yes. But personally, let me answer your question personally. I feel like if I hadn't come out of Nigeria now, I probably wouldn't have know what is dyslexia. probably. And then I would be stuck in using orthodox method to
Try
raise
to,
my daughter,
yeah,
which would, do a lot of harm rather than good.
yeah.
Understand? So now coming to the UK, being exposed to, the word dyslexia, I now understand better that, okay, this thing exists, and, it's not really the fault of, my daughter, like she's
Mm-hmm.
not getting this thing is because of a condition. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? Now, and then I started, yeah, I could, even though, yes, the help is not there, but at least there is hope. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, the diagnostic process. And then, if I'm not, I'm hoping that they didn't even diagnose that anyway, but that's not, yeah. But, if they confirm that, there will be definitely, help means that will be put in place. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Than people that does not even have that kind of opportunity. They keep on, trying to teach them in the orthodox way. And sometimes the parents give up at the end of the,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, saying stuff like, okay, you are just dollar, you don't want to learn, you're lazy, this and that, So
Mm-hmm.
yes, there is a difference, me coming here and me staying in Nigeria. Yeah, academically, yes.
All right, thank you for responding to that question. So as an African parent, what were some of the first strategies you tried to help your child?
I spoke about sitting
Yeah.
lesson.
I'm
I spoke about sitting lesson.
sure she'd have
Now,
been wondering why.
it was that bad. It was that terrible. She wanted to drive me nuts. Her energy was top notch. So, at that moment, I feel like, okay, it's basically because you play too much. That's why you're losing concentration. That's
Mhm.
why you're not getting the instruction as you're supposed to. That's why you're not, pulling your weight. Yeah. So I feel like, okay, if I could reduce the play, it would,
It's to change
um,
things.
help, it will help her to, put her mind together, put her mind in one place, put her mind in one particular task. Because, yeah, personally, I try to study how their mind function. And I see that,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm not an expert, like I would say, but I see that, when you're not getting instruction, it's because, for me, I might be wrong anyway, because you are easily distracted. So your mind needs to be focused on what
Focused
you,
on it.
like, okay, I want to get this done. You have to be there at all time at that process of doing it. So I see that she's easily distracted, which was one of the, thing that they pointed out in the school before they now asked me to, go for the process and everything. So they said, okay, distraction. She had somebody came in this last term to, just to, and then they gave the result. I have the result with me, so I read it. I like, and one thing at this junction, I know we are still going to get there anyway, but let me, before I forget, one thing is that, you see, another mistake that we make as parents is that, one very big one is that we are too defensive when it comes to our
Yeah.
kids. We are too defensive. You don't want to accept the truth,
Accepts this.
especially from when it's coming from an outsider. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no. They just hated my kid. No, 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 no. You have to relax. You have to relax a bit. And then, try to measure what you are getting, the feedback you're getting from outside. Try to measure it with what you're seeing. If they
Yeah.
are 100% the same, you don't have to fight. Just try to work with the outsiders to
Find the
see
way out.
why I said that, but when I got the report, I looked at it, I went through it thoroughly. It was the same thing I've been experiencing. I was thinking that, yeah. And you know what? It confirmed my uncertainty. It confirmed my curiosity. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? And it
Mm-hmm.
taught me, okay, if this is confirmed now, this is no longer whether it is or it is not. So
Yeah.
now, what can I do to salvage, understand the
Yeah.
situation. So there were some suggestions, some I'll just leave this. So this was given to me. I don't want it to show, but these are part of the strategy given to me from this one. I
It's
also
from
go
the
through
school to say,
I because I was open to receiving that
finding a solution. Yeah.
And then, I started, and it's really, really, really doing a lot of wonders, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, you've answered this too, but then
Hey, I
well,
always answered questions ahead of that's my
ahead of
problem when I go for interview.
but it's good. It just shows how expressive you are.
All right.
Um, did you ever or do you ever feel frustrated because your child appears to know something one day and then forgets the next day?
Ah,
That it sounded too Nigerian.
ah. Yeah, I want you to I want to take you back home. Yeah, what do you think, Jumi? I was very frustrated. Not just me, the mom, you know.
Hmm.
Mom was very frustrated, especially when we have no idea of the word.
What?
It's, yeah, it was a lot of things to deal with her situation because you're just asking yourself constantly, why is it hard for you to take in instruction? Why are you not like other kids?
Hmm.
Look at this, regularly comparing, it's frustrating, I would say, because as a parent, you have a set standard
Yeah.
you want them to get to at every stage.
And definitely when they're not there, you feel
Yeah,
like,
and
is it
then
that you feel like you've not done well
when you're
or
there,
that
when you're not
disappointment
there, you
is
start
there?
blaming, you start looking for who to blame.
Mm.
Do you
But
understand?
now with the knowledge of dyslexia, do you still
Yes.
feel that frustration from time to time to
No,
say, oh, I
no,
wish,
no, no,
uh,
no, I
that's good to hear.
don't. I
That's
don't
good to do.
because I understand things better now. You
Yeah.
understand? Before then, let me make you laugh a bit. Let me make you laugh a bit, or let me
Mm-hmm.
make you laugh a bit, not you, everybody. And then you know, the thing is, when that's even me, I'm laughing. When I started experiencing that kind of thing, I was cute. I wanted. It was very unfortunate that my mom wasn't. I don't. My mom passed on. I started wishing that I wish my mom is alive so that I can ask, is this the way I do when I was? Is this me? I just want to pour out my emotions, pour out everything. I say, look,
Yeah.
this is the frustration I'm having about this girl. Please tell me sincerely so that I can just have peace of mind. All right, because if you didn't tell me, I might, go nuts. I might do something I don't want to do. You understand? This is the way I behave. If you tell me, oh, you are gifted, this, that, I'll feel that peace. So it was that peace that I was looking for that
Looking
I
for
felt when I had the word
you
like
wanted the Igbo word
something
Oyenaya.
like something like I wanted something like a confirmation. Okay, you know what?
This is
I
how
think
you were. So your
this
child
thing is
is
driving me crazy now. You just need to tell me what's going on. Is it this or is it? I just wanted something because I'm beginning to feel and the fact that you would not start going to everybody and is this how your kid is? Please, my kid,
yeah.
kind of thing. Just feel like, but you should know this thing. Why is it? So I just want that person to tell me, like, okay, you know what? This is how everybody is, or this is how you are when you were a kid. I will be happy. So when I hear dyslexia, it now gave me that peace I was looking for. So I'm like, not like, of course, not like you will now give up and you won't do anything about it.
Yeah. But then you now understand
Of strategy, you be more patient with her. You even you even love her more than you
more
have.
than
Because
because now you understand. So you're more
understand.
compassionate.
Yeah,
Okay, and so to our viewers, I used an Igbo word, Oyinnaya. That is looks like the father. So when he said he was trying to, if his mom had to be alive, he would have asked her, "Is this how I behave?" So is this like we usually use the word Oyinnaya or
yeah,
Omekanaya when a child is behaving the
very well.
way the father or the father Omekanaya, the father behaved when he was growing up. So trying to find out is this the way I behaved so that I know that okay, this one now it runs in the blood. She would
Yeah.
get over all of it. Good to hear. Every parent has an imaginary educational journey for their children. Do you ever grieve the you know, educational journey that you perceived for her? Do you ever wish that things were different and she was like every other person so she could, everybody wants that. My daughter is doing very well in school, my daughter is first class, my daughter is this, my daughter is that. So do you ever get to that point where you still tell yourself, I just wish things were different?
Yeah, the thing is, you're very correct with that question because I, for one, in my primary school days, I give them, I show them how things were done academically. I don't want to say more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried my best. So, and then before I got married, before I started bearing kids, I feel like, okay, my whichever kids, whether boy or girl, should, take after me, that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
intelligence and everything. So yes, and the fact that I used to see how my mom, most especially, my dad does not understand uh, educational achievements. Sorry to say that. So my mom, I used to see how, happy she is. So that gives
It
me,
looks forward to that.
yeah, I want to do more. I want to like, show, make you
Yeah.
understand. So, and then I used to say one thing to my wife. I said, I have never remembered a time when I was young. I mean, my primary school days, when, the formative period, when I have to be beaten in the process of learning at home,
Mm-hmm.
home lesson. And then my mom was teaching me, and then she, you know, beats me because I remember my elder sister Colette very well. She Colette. So, 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 so I've never remembered the time where even our first son, he was much more older than us. So sometimes he takes us, the things that that fierce human being. He's very, very, authoritative and all of that. So even he would never be, because I don't know. I mean, they would be in the best position to say, because they are much older than me, but I know they don't beat me because obviously I catch up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That is, I would say, is making my mom proud to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And for me as a parent, I look forward to that.
So that
Say,
feeling and
I
experience.
want my daughter to make me proud, that kind of, just give it to her. She already understand it more than the way you have said it. And, I was looking up for that. But it became a frustration for me when I see that, simple instruction. What's going on? So I started, that was, in fact, that was the biggest of my frustration.
Content,
I feel
yeah.
like, oh, you are not like me. I used to be doing this, and then how would
Every
you?
African parent came first in class. Every African
I
parent.
don't know about that.
Every African
I
parent
don't know
came
about
first in
that.
class.
So
I promised I won't use that
the-
on my children because I didn't know I wasn't coming first in class. So I don't want to I don't want to continue what was
yeah,
passed
yeah,
down.
maybe we were really doing it. My own coming first in class was true, honestly.
Okay, good
So,
for
but
you.
that is not the bone of contention anyway. So it was just me trying to, looking back at what I have done. I mean, my
Mm-hmm.
achievement, how my mom reacted to it. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
have that same feeling. I mean, for my kids. Do you understand? And then
Mm-hmm.
when I see that, it's becoming very difficult to get her there, I became worried. I won't
Yeah.
make that. I became worried. But when talking about educational journey generally, I don't think this would affect her. She can get to wherever she wants to get to.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate of you have to have distinction. If you have
Yeah.
it all,
Very true.
there are a lot of things that you can do personally away
Very
from
true.
education uh, that would even be better than you getting the distinction. Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, that's me.
Talking about distinction, I think just before we started the conversation, we talked about how, most of us in Lincoln were disappointed because we
Yeah,
expected, we had worked so hard and
uh,
we expected, some grades.
something
And
better.
then the lecturer casually said, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is you're not graduating with a pass.
I remember when
To
that.
us, we were like, look, I remember that was one of the first times I spoke up in class because I was really pissed. I said, no, I'm Nigerian. It is
Yeah,
very, very important that we are well graded and all of that. You guys should have explained all of these processes to us so that we know what we are doing. It's like we didn't know what to answer or how to respond to your questions. You just didn't
agree.
explain how, and because we're coming from two different educational systems, it was
Hmm.
difficult. We answered the way we would have answered in Nigeria
And
and would
then
have
the
given
reason
you
why
great
getting,
grades.
the whole marks and everything,
Mm-hmm. I
it
would
was
have
on
given you great
ability.
grades, and then for goodness
Agree.
sake, we paid so much for school fees, so we wanted
I
that,
remember when you said that.
yeah, we wanted the distinction and we wanted the high grades. But like you said, I remember that day I was really, really upset in class. Like I said, that was one of the first times that I really spoke up. I'm
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah. Yes,
I said no, I am Nigerian. We are Nigerians because we're more of Nigerians in class. Like we
definitely.
are Nigerians. We don't take our education for granted. No, no.
Yeah, it
And
counts.
talking about to our viewers who are not Africans, he mentioned something about being flogged while you're being taught. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that
I,
happens
I,
in Africa. That happens in Nigeria
I
specifically.
was
When
not
we were
careful not to use
growing
that
up,
word.
yeah, when we were growing up, you were going to be flogged if you're not doing well in class.
Yeah,
So it's either we learned out of fear and we learned well, or
yeah.
we learned because I don't know, something just worked for us. But you see that flogging, you will be flogged in class, you'll be mocked in class, you get back home and you're still not your parents are still going to flog you. I remember this song is still in my head, Jumbo. My son, I sent him to school. He doesn't know how to. Apparently, it was his mom. I later learned that Jumbo's mom. Jumbo was in my school. Jumbo was in my school. It was a private. It was a private
Same
school. We were
same
paying
jumble
so
that we
much.
that we were singing.
Yeah,
Or one.
I think the real one because I know there was a Jumbo and we're singing the song for him, and he was in my elder brother's class. He repeated all to my elder sister. He repeated until the point he got to my class.
Wow.
So it was that bad.
Wow.
And that's those are one of the things that got me, really thinking. And then I changed school at some
None.
point, and I still, met some other people. I knew there were some people that were uh, you talk to them and they're making sense, but then when it comes to schoolwork, oh, there was this particular guy, God bless him. I don't know where he is now, and I hope he's doing very well with but for every class we had, this guy was flogged and punished because he was not doing well in class. For every class we had, he was flogged and punished. And for me, I was sitting right behind me. So for me, I just couldn't figure out why.
Why?
So I felt really bad for him. And unfortunately, there were times when he was sleeping in class. There was nothing you do to wake him up. There was
Mm,
nothing. So it's either he was going through something at home, or he was going through something in school, or definitely we knew he had his form of, disadvantage, neurological disability too. But it was bad. Like I said, these were the things that made me start thinking, why is it like this? Why is it like this? Why is it like this?
yeah.
So
Mm,
it's God help us. Like I said, for John Bull, we eventually got to hear that it was even his mom that coined the song for him. And unfortunately, when we were singing the song, we had to on the assembly ground. We had assemblies every day. That was our marching song.
yeah, of course.
He was in front of the assembly hall. That's that really tall because he was way, I don't know how many classes before, my elder brother, but he was really tall.
Popular.
And so we could see him from a distance, and you just see him standing tall there, and everybody singing and marching to class. God forgive us because we didn't know what we're doing. We can imagine mocking someone that much. And then once, so I had to teach a class, and I don't know where to. I think she was severely dyslexic. She was supposedly in primary three. She was, I think, about 10 years old. Ordinarily, by the time you are 10, you are getting ready to go into junior high if you're not already in junior high. And this girl was 10 years old, and that's what is called
Yeah.
grade seven here. And she, it was difficult. It was difficult. Then I didn't understand much, but it was difficult. And I had to take her after I thought for I think I just taught them for about a year. And I had to take her after classes. At some point, she was staying with her auntie. Her auntie had said it was all the village people and everything. She was always
Mhm.
flogged at home. She was always at some point I had to, after classes, I'll still tell that weekends she still used to come to my house to learn, but she still could not write her A to Z. Sometimes you ask her, she answers correctly. And when you tell her you got your answer correctly, she will smile. And she had this very beautiful smile. But sometimes you ask her and she's just staring at you like, what did you just say? And unfortunately, we we didn't understand. We didn't,
Yeah,
and I'm glad that, there's some form of exposure. If I had to go back, I'm sure I'd have done a lot of things correctly if I had to go
yeah,
back.
it's so unfortunate in our country, in Africa as a whole, that we didn't pay attention to those things. Rather, we've
Yeah.
tried to criticize people based on their performance. You said something the last time, said you don't even know the grading system, who invented it. That thing is doing more harm than good, I would
Damn
say.
good, sincerely.
And we don't need to be graded. We don't need to compete. You are just trying to bring out competition mindset to everybody. So everybody,
Mm-hmm.
you are hitting the ground, and immediately you are thinking about competing with the next person. Why must we compete?
I
Just keep
think it's more about competition. Are we really learning to understand and
yeah.
to make impact?
And
Or are we
then
learning just because we want to
And then
do?
we should try to understand that the individuals, we are different. We can't compare ourselves, or we can't keep comparing somebody with this other person. They've got different
Mm-hmm.
ability, they've got different traits, they've got different upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
lot of differences. So if you keep
Yeah.
plugging this person, I use that word again. I was so careful, I didn't want to use it. If you
Oh.
keep punishing this person, I'm so used. Recently I was at work, and then a British lady, a British colleague of mine, we started talking. I was taking her through, the journey back home, the flogging, the punishment,
They
and
probably wouldn't understand what you're talking
yeah,
about.
she was looking like, but yeah, she was a bit supportive of that style of making, because she was of the opinion that a lot of people abuse system because there is too much freedom, that kind of thing. I don't want to go there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's now I was now saying, I now said so much about my story where I was flogged, and then I told her something. I said, now I'm grown and I'm here. Now, if I have to choose, right, what would I have choose? Yes, I'll choose my upbringing again and again and again.
Yeah, I would still prefer my upbringing,
I'm
sincerely.
sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say that,
It,
but
it may it may look brutal, but I think that is where, if you
that's
look
just
at the generation of people, most of our generation are more resilient
yeah.
than, these
Thank
days they don't even allow you flog
you for that
children in
word.
class. They don't allow you
Yeah,
correct children. You correct a child, you don't necessarily have to flog. You correct a child and the parent is coming to school to fight. I read
yeah.
of a story of a lady that had, well, punished a child, not necessarily flogged, punished a child because he did something wrong in school, and then the next day the father came and beat the teacher up. Unfortunately, she lost her
Happens every
life.
time.
Unfortunately. And I'm wondering how. You go back home, when we're growing up, you go back home and you tell your parents, my teacher flogged me. The first question they're asking is, what did you
What did
do?
you do?
What did you do? Because I mean, you see where they say it takes a community to train a child. That is
Yeah,
that is Nigeria for you. It takes a community to train a child. That is
yeah,
Nigeria. Yeah, we have the downsides of it where we do not want to see most of these neurological disabilities as a thing. We
yeah,
rather want to see it like a spiritual thing. It's
yeah.
you
Yeah,
can
good.
pray your way out of it. I'm
Yeah,
not against religion. I'm not against praying.
I agree.
I love praying. I'm a very prayerful person. But I
Yeah,
also think that we should also know how to address things from their roots and know how to, address them properly. So where you sit down and believe that somebody who is dyslexic is being spiritually haunted, and you're praying against the aunties and uncles and the grandmother in the village, where that's not even, that's not where the problem is
at
coming
some point
from.
I was thinking about that. I was like, who have I offended
Oh no,
spiritually that
trust me, you
coming
didn't offend
after me?
anybody. Trust me, you didn't offend anybody. Trust me, you don't offend anybody. Whatever it is that they are doing back, it doesn't go across the ocean.
It doesn't go
It's too
across the
far.
border.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't go. It doesn't go beyond this. So, talking about this unrealistic standards of learning and everything. Let me just talk about myself. I'm Igbo, and
Mhm.
Igbo language has just never really been, languages have actually never really been my thing. I could just learn the basics and, just
Yeah.
enough to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know how many times, I think there was a time I bought a German dictionary, there was a time I bought a Spanish dictionary, I just want to learn languages, but it just doesn't stick. And sometimes I laugh about it and say, this small English I'm learning, I'm practicing on this small English I'm learning, let me not confuse my brain. And then while in secondary school, we had to do one language, it was compulsory. I remember in JS1, that is grade, I think that should be, I don't know. I
Uh,
remember in JS1,
Seventh grade, yes, one.
that should be my first year as junior high. And I said I was going to learn Yoruba because for me, I was like, okay, I'm an Igbo person. I could learn Igbo at home, and then I'm going to learn Yoruba. And when the lady started talking, I was like, nope, I don't even understand anything. So I went back to my Igbo class and I stopped Igbo. Until today, I'm trying my best. I'm really trying my best, but it's not. I can't sit down and have a full-blown conversation in Igbo. In my house, I'm the only person that doesn't know how to speak.
Wow.
But I always passed my Igbo examination because a day before, I wouldn't even bother reading until a day before. So if we have a test tomorrow, I wouldn't read until this night. And I'm not reading, I'm cramming everything. So once we
Yeah.
get into the examination hall or into the test, and we are giving our examination questions, the first thing I do is to download everything in my head into the paper. I always have my pencil, I just put everything down. That was the only language I know that I crammed. I'll just put everything down, then take time to start reading the questions. And when I see something that, maybe there's a word in the question, I go back to what I've downloaded and I see the same word. I just copy the same thing there. Because for me, if I read any other thing before I put down what I have crammed, I'm just going to forget
Oh,
everything. So
yeah.
that is it. And somehow, I just always passed. Language has never really been my thing. I remember growing up, like, if my mom speaks Igbo to me, and I'm like, English version. Then she'll ask me in Igbo, did I speak Greek? And for me, I just be like, okay, you probably don't want me to do what you're asking me to do. And then she goes back to speak Igbo. Eh, I'm picking up these days gradually. But then that's what we're talking about, like people learning at their own pace. People learning at their own pace. And if I was going to be judged based on my Igbo, I'm sure I'd have been told that, this person doesn't even know anything at all. But
Yeah.
here we are today.
That's it.
The educational system in Nigeria, in Africa, I think somewhere in it's still a good educational system, but I think somewhere in between we have to make it a little more inclusive for neurodivergence. Otherwise, we are
I
leaving a
really
huge set
lacking
of
there.
people behind.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, again, you've talked about this, but then I want you to elaborate a bit. Are there effective collaborations between home and your child's school to assist educational development?
Yeah, there is, but like I would say I think at this junction, I should speak more about parents accepting, you know, other people's opinion,
Opinions.
in respect to their child. Don't resist. What a
Mm-hmm.
lot of parents do here is, I mean, not here, everywhere, is that you try to protect in time of being very defensive your
Mm-hmm.
child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that will not make you to be open to, the ways that you could support
You
them with.
should. Yeah.
Yes, if there has been collaboration, yes, there has been, sincerely speaking, and then I would say I'll give the credit to myself because I personally will not let the school rest. I wouldn't, because I always meet them to ask for like a progress report of my daughter because obviously I know there is something about her. There is a special, thing about her that I
Mm-hmm.
need to, even though I'm busy doing so many things, trying to work this and work that, but I still give that time at least to the best of my ability to ask for a, progress report. How is she? I was a lot of time in fact, I'm sure all the class teachers, my daughter, they know me. But I will always,
Yes, you know,
I'm
because you're
that one
involved.
I would always, stand there when they
Mm-hmm.
were going close and what did they learn today? The last one I did was I took my cell phone, I took pictures of pages from her book just to know, how to, help
Get
her
yourself
and all of
involved.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, there has been a collaboration, so to say, between the school and then, and myself. Because the last time I remember that I was given a form, I filled the form, I signed it, And the form was basically, asking for a special help in term of giving her some special kind of assistance academically. And
Okay.
then that to me, I was interested in it. But then this is where I would advise people that that fall into the same category as I am. Sometimes, especially with immigrants here and immigrants everywhere, we feel like, okay, if you fill the form, if you sign it for them to come in and assist you, we feel like it's an extra burden for you. You feel like they would what is this word? It's like a label on your door.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean? That so that because of that, we don't want to be open to that. For me, when they approached me in the school, you understand, when they approached me and said, this is what this form is all about, this, and the I asked myself a question: what is the worst case scenario about
Yeah.
this? Do you understand? What's
Mm-hmm.
worst that can happen here? Do you understand? And then I
Mm-hmm.
told them that whatever is it, their judgment is, I have the right to decline it.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't want this. And I have the right to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, why not I proceed? Let's see where this heads. Let's see where this heads. Let's see where this leads to. Do you
Yeah.
understand? And so far, like I said, I think I said it, I mentioned it earlier on that, the first set of external, support team came in, assessed my daughter, gave their feedback. And when I had the feedback, I looked at it, it was just the same thing I was going through. It was, and with that feedback, even myself, it has shaped the way I used to support her. I give
Mm-hmm.
her, so a tailored support.
Yeah.
So now, based on the feedback, you understand, now you're working with a collaboration with an expert
Mm-hmm.
bring this in. You would think, I can handle it, but then you don't have experience. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. That's
Everyone,
true.
everyone do that. You just think, okay, I know it. I know
We
you
can
don't
we can do it ourselves.
experience. You are comparing yourself with people that has dealt with thousands of people that have similar cases. They
Mm-hmm.
would know how to handle it better. A very good example of it is that when I wanted to hire a teacher to train my daughter in playing the piano, I play piano as well, but I didn't want to teach her because I know that I might not,
You may not have the patience and the
the patience
know-how.
and the skill and the experience. So I got
Mm-hmm.
somebody that had been teaching different kind of people, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. So as a parent or as an immigrant, if you're a parent, I would say that, just be open to these things. Ask yourself,
Be
what
open
is
to the system.
what would be the worst thing that could happen from this thing? You
Mm-hmm.
identify it and always know that you have a choice to make. If they give you
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is they give you, can say, no, I don't want this. They won't force it on you. So
Yeah.
give it a try. You understand? Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you used the word tailor supports. Like now you know how to,
Yeah.
you know, channel, let me say channel your energy towards teaching her. You know what to do right. And you're not just, going around in circles. Okay, we spent so much time talking and it's been it's actually been very enlightening actually. And I enjoyed this conversation so much. So I want to ask you, is there anything
I
you
do
wish
enjoy
you
it as
knew?
well.
What do you say?
I said I enjoyed the conversation as
Yeah,
well. Thank
yeah,
you very
it's
much.
it's quite engaging. You're welcome. So is there anything you wish you knew better or earlier about dyslexia as an African parent?
Yeah, for me, I was grateful for one thing that you know, she's still a kid, so it wasn't like she has grown and then a lot has happened, a lot
Yeah.
has damaged before I realized. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? Yes, but
Mm-hmm.
then even having said that, I still wish I had known earlier on because there are some kind of orthodox means I have used that I feel like no, these are not really necessary.
Yeah.
If I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have used that
The
means to
means.
yeah, because it was too harsh. And then when you are too harsh on your kids, you should always think about their confidence level. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
you're you're you are messing with their confidence, and
That's true. That's true. And
want
that's
to build
that. That's a huge setback.
Yeah, so for me, it wasn't. I didn't do it for long before I realized this
Realized.
for that. But then I wish I knew earlier on. I mean, I wish the doctor, the nurses that were there when during her delivery time told us, or maybe somebody has somehow tell us this is what is going on. Then I would have changed my approach of parenting to her.
You know, the thing about most of these neurological diagnoses is if it is not something like a physical defect, it's not even known. So in most
Yeah.
cases, people are not even diagnosed as ADHD, dyslexia until the age of 3, 4. That is when they are now able to interact and, perceive or receive information and reflect and things like that. That is where you now know, okay, this is not doing it the way the world expects things to be done. Two more questions and we will call it a day. How can
Uh,
families, especially African homes, celebrate differences without minimizing the genuine difficulties associated with dyslexia?
yeah, unfortunately, we like I said earlier on, we have various yardsticks that we measure achievement with. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem in Africa.
Africa,
We have our own, set standard that this is
how
achievement.
this child should be.
Which is, and when I came here, it was, I was exposed to a different thing, and I'm grateful I am because for me, I feel like I cannot celebrate myself if I don't have a big, that big achievement, and a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
what this is happening. Let me make it very simple now and very funny for everybody to laugh. Now, when I came here, I feel like, okay, we are doing the same thing over and over and over in terms of work we are doing. Then what experience are you getting? It's just the same thing. What are the new things that you're doing? Do you understand?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you go to an interview, for instance, you want to change your job, and then they tell you what is the most impressive thing that you have
Thing.
done in your job. And then you start looking, what have I done? Definitely nothing that it's just go there, do the work.
Do what you're supposed to do, and
Nobody, nobody collapsed, and I did basic life support on. Those things are the major ones. They are the major achievement that we want to be seen. And unfortunately, they don't happen every day. Do you understand what I mean? So
Yeah.
until those ones happen before we now start saying, okay, we have achieved this. But meanwhile, there are little achievements that we could celebrate ourselves
Mm-hmm.
on, even as the job, progresses. So that
Mm-hmm.
mistake a lot of Africans make. You just believe that, okay, for your child that is neurodivergent, they have to, I mean, for your child, they have to attain this, they have to be first in class, they have to get distinction, they have to do before you start celebrating them. No, you made mention of one thing. It says somebody, threw party because had their kids, move from 18, the last position, to the 17. That is remarkable for me because it's a small step, but it's obvious. So
Mm-hmm.
let's try to pay attention to those
All
little
of
little
those little things.
efforts. Because if you're waiting for the big one, you probably will not celebrate yourself. So the big one will come. It's not like the big one will not come, but
Yeah.
we are anxious, we are too, impatient for it to come. So even while we wait for the big one, the little ones,
Celebrate the ones that are
big
available.
one. Do you understand? And we should
Yeah.
always understand that these kids are just different from the other one. We should stop
Yeah.
comparing them. Oh, have you seen? I'm guilty of this anyway. Have you seen your sister? Have you seen your brother? Have you seen the? No, 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 no. That will not help them. So we should stop that. Let's celebrate them, the little achievement. Let's celebrate them. Let's celebrate ourselves as well. Little achievement. Don't wait until you build mansion.
Until you've done something, celebrate your small
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the last question, and well, we may say you've talked a little about it too, because you've said quite a
Yeah.
lot of encouraging words. What's your word of encouragement to neurodivergent families?
Yeah, this one is important. This one is important. One, is not the end of the road.
Yeah.
So, and then two, it doesn't mean your child will not be as successful, even more successful than you think.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have we don't have success in our hands to give to people. Do you understand?
They say.
Eh, Reality does not work the way it works in our mind. You just believe that, oh, if you didn't read your book, if you are lazy, I'm sorry, there's no way. That's not true.
Mhm.
In most cases, let
Mhm.
me understand. It's true in some cases, but somebody might be lazy and they are just, so fortunate in everything. I'm not encouraging laziness anyway. I'm just saying that it doesn't really work the way now. You've noticed that this child is special, has a special, trait, and because of that, you just feel like, oh, just then that you're giving up so soon. No, you don't have to. You understand? You don't have to
Yeah.
give up those kids. They can, do better. They can do as much. My daughter is doing very fantastically, very well. She's wonderful. She's she has this thing of she just want to try. She want to keep doing it. She want to keep pushing. She want to impress her parents. She want to make us proud. So with that, I feel it's more than enough for me not to give
Yeah.
understand. And I'm using that to encourage all the parents out there that have similar situation with what I'm describing now, that it's not the end of the road. Those child, they can do well as well. Just be patient with them and then encourage them, keep encouraging them. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up on them. One thing I always tell myself is I'm not a very emotional person. I mean, when you're saying you just hear something and you start crying. But the day my daughter is going to succeed, I don't know how I'm going to hold my myself because I'll be thinking about the efforts I have put in place.
Putin.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so last, I want to see myself. So picture that in your mind and don't give up. Picture
Mm-hmm.
the day that your daughter is going to graduate from, university. When you now start seeing that and the effort you are putting in place now, you'll be more than proud of yourself. So that
Mm-hmm.
should, make you not to be able to give up. Yeah.
So talking about people who have succeeded about being dyslexic and all of that. There was a
Mm.
time I had a conversation with neurodivergent children, and I talked about it was named "My Brain is Special," and we talked about all of these things. And I actually had a list of people who had either ADHD or dyslexia or dyscalculia, or there was just the different and
Mm.
then I told them, I said, how many of you have watched Spider-Man? And everybody, most of them raised their hand. I said, I'm talking about the most recent one. I think the No Way Home. Also, unfortunately, I'm not much of a TV person, but I heard a lot about it. And everybody raised their hand. I said, the person that acted Spider-Man, Tom Holland. And they said, yeah. I said, do you know he's dyslexic? And everybody went quiet.
Just imagine me
I was like,
again.
yeah, he's dyslexic. So he actually said it that he was bullied in school, and people laughed at him and all of that. And so I told him, I said, most of these people that bullied him in school are the people that are celebrating him now. So the most important thing is you're not giving up on yourself. And we talked about a lot of people. I think this I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Whoopi Goldberg, also an actress, dyslexic. And if you look at all of these things, you find out that most people who have done extremely well with themselves are either autistic or dyslexic or they have ADHD. These are people that are succeeding in areas that people find neurotypical people may probably find difficult to succeed. Tom Cruise, at least if nothing else, we know our generation knows Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is dyslexic too. And most people are coming out now to say, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. The struggles have been there, but they are not giving up on themselves. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm going to tell parents who have neurodivergent children that, like you said, it's not the end of the world. Their diagnosis is just like, this is the problem. This is just finding the problem. And
Like the sickness. This is what you should pay attention to.
this is
Something
how you
like
pay exactly. And nobody is, these people are not a write-off, especially for those parents back at home. Your children are not a write-off. They have very unique futures. They are very special. We just need to stop looking at the things that are supposedly wrong with them and
that.
start looking at the things that are right with them. These people see things that we do not see. You look at the line and it looks straight to you, and they look at it and they're able to say, no, this is not
Yeah.
straight. And you can argue all you want, but by the time you use whatever materials you need to use to check, you find out that the line is actually not straight.
Mm.
I used to like watching The Good Doctor, and although the good doctor himself, I can't remember his name at this point, was dyslexic, and people had a way of, sorry, it was autistic, and people had a way of, looking down on him. Well, they didn't come out to say he was autistic, but he had all of the features of somebody who is autistic, and people had a way of coming out to look down on him and all of that. But he always found solutions to problems where it looked like, there was no there was this thing. And then this other Dr. House too. For me, I think that guy is just one autistic plus
Oh,
autistic.
that's
They've not come out to say this is his character, but he has he has the attributes where there is little or no emotions. He just says things the way they are, and you look at him and say this guy is too toxic because you think that is the way he is, but then he always has a way of finding solutions. Although these are movies, but in the real life sense, they are people
happens.
who
Yeah.
have succeeded. There are people who have succeeded, given the right opportunity. As long as, if the parents write off the children, where do they want to start from? Where do they want to get the support from? So their biggest strength, especially as children, are on their parents until they're able to stand confidently on themselves. It is the parents that they look up to. And you don't want to put your child in a situation where you're making the child feel like the child is
Less than
for no
others.
good, is up to no good, where eventually there are other futures. So let's stop looking at the she cannot spell, he cannot read, they cannot write, and start looking at what's she's very good at this, he's very good at that. She's able to tell stories. Like I mentioned earlier, I know someone who is dyslexic and finds it very difficult to remember or say anything. But if you take this person on a road trip for 5, 6 hours, the next time the person can direct you to say, okay, we're turning at this place, we're turning at that place, we're turning at this place.
Wow.
But when it comes to reading, no, don't bother. When it comes to remembering things, don't bother.
Mm.
So I would encourage parents
Uh,
again.
sorry if I may add this. One of the things that's why parents do the way they do is because it does rate everything on reading, on academics, And if you look
Yeah,
at dyslexia, if you look at kids with dyslexia, you see that their major problem is always around, reading. I think their pronounced problem is always around reading,
reading
writing.
and writing,
That's where
spelling.
it's more pronounced. And then for a parent that believes that if your child is not, doing well in at school,
Mm-hmm.
you would find it very difficult to cope with that kind of child
That's
because
true.
they are not doing it. But we should always not forget that there is other aspect of life that if you are doing well
Beyond.
at it, you are good. You don't have to. Dyslexia does not show in music. It doesn't show in acting. It doesn't show in so many things, even all the
And
jobs.
most dyslexic people play the best instruments, musical instruments. At
I
least
don't know
from the
what.
ones that I've interacted with, you find out that they play the best musical instruments because they are able to, they're able to listen to sounds. They are able to hear the deeper chords and all of that.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
hear them playing, you're like, oh wow. And then you hear this person is dyslexic, and you're wondering,
yeah,
how is that even possible?
yeah.
David, we want to say thank you so much for spending this time with us. Thank you for sharing your personal experience with us. Thank you for teaching us. We've learned a few things. Not too many people, especially as an African parent, who want to come out and have this conversation. But here you are saying, look, we need to talk about this so that people know, that there's a way forward. Thank you so much for your time. We really
My
appreciate
pleasure,
you.
Jimmy. My pleasure coming here.
Really
And this
appreciate you.
important most importantly, I am more happy that, this will educate a lot of people because
Yeah,
a lot of people are getting it wrong. And if they are not hearing it from people that, that is dealing with the same problem they have,
it
they might,
becomes very difficult. It's
I
easy to
am,
say, it's
yeah,
easy to say because you're not in the situation, you don't understand what
yeah,
we're going through.
yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you for watching this this episode of the Infinite Multihued. As usual, every mind colors the world. Want to say thank you to everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.